in a world where everything is becoming faster and noisier. It means a lot that you are here, willing to slow down for a little while. Most people today are constantly surrounded by stimulation, notifications, short videos, arguments online, information overload, and endless pressure to keep moving without ever truly resting internally. So this live stream is meant to be a different kind of space, not a place for noise, not a place for emotional performance, but a place for reflection, a place for awareness, a place where we can honestly explore life, consciousness, growth, suffering, human nature, and the deeper questions that many people carry quietly inside themselves. This channel is dedicated to the works and ideas of the Chinese writer Xuemo. Xuemo is a contemporary Chinese author whose works have reached readers around the world. Over the years, he has written more than 80 books covering literature, philosophy, traditional culture, spirituality, psychology, and inner cultivation. And his books have been translated into more than 20 languages. Some readers first discover Xuemo through his novels, and others through his interpretation of Lao Tzu and Eastern wisdom traditions. And many people encounter his works during difficult or transformative periods in their lives. What makes Xuemo's writing different is that it does not simply focus on external success. It focuses on the transformation of consciousness itself. So what we mean success is quite different in Xuemo culture. It is not about the wealth, about how big your enterprise is, and so it is not about fame, power, wealth, but it is about only about yourself, to conquer yourself, to reshape your character, and to build the virtue inside. So it focuses on the transformation of consciousness itself, how suffering changes a person, how attachment shapes the mind, why people feel empty even after achieving what they once wanted. Hi, Rev. Hello, so many new friends here. Welcome to Xuemo community. Here we are mainly about the inner growth, self growth, inner strength, inner peace, and about the mind and the nature of the mind. So if you are new here, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. It's always happy to see people from different of the world gathering here, and thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. I'm from China, and I'm the one of we are introducing Xuemo's works, Xuemo's culture. Hi, Rav, you live in England. Oh, you're a doctor in England. We visited UK in March. Hi, Vikanti. Hello, welcome. If you are new here, please subscribe to our channel. Ranto. Hello. Good blessing from China. Yeah, thank you. We are here mainly about the literature of Mr. Xuemo, and we are talking about the inner growth and reshaping one's character. Hey, subscribe. Thank you, thank you. So we focus on like the topics we are talking about here are like how attachment shapes the mind and why people feel empty even after achieving what they once wanted, and how a human being can gradually move from confusion towards clarity. A lot of modern culture trains people to constantly chase stimulation and comparison. But Xuemo's works often encourage the opposite movement to return inward, to observe the mind honestly, to understand suffering instead of merely escaping it, and to gradually build a deeper and more stable inner life. So today's live stream will continue exploring those themes together. Hi Eva, hello. Good. I feel blessing every moment. Well, hi, because we are in the whole environment is surrounded by the good culture that can nourish your soul, nourish your energy, nourish your mind, and reshaping your mind, transform your energy and your experience to the world. So every moment I feel blessing. Yes, because we are having the lectures here in Xuemo Academy for at least 9 days here. So she is the general manager to Wendy is responsible for all the things around the during the 9 days. So she's busy. I'm also busy. I have something I need to handle, but I am so energetic. My energies, yeah, I'm so energetic that I can do much more things than the others. So I can't stop the live stream during these days, but I choose not to. I insist on doing the live stream. Hi, if I love your outfit, it's super duper cutie. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I think girls love this outfit a lot because many girls have said the same word to me. Okay, John, you guys both have my favorite anyway. Thank you, Eva. You are also our favorite. Thank you. Yes. So, our the live session today will focus on the inward, and the nature of the mind. So we will continue exploring those themes together. We'll be reading passages, reflecting on ideas, and discussing questions related to awareness, truth, self-cultivation, emotional struggle, inner freedom, and personal transformation. And I will share what Mr. Xuemo just told us in the class. And you don't need to agree with everything here. The point is not blind belief. The point is to observe, reflect, and think more deeply. So wherever you are right now, thank you again for joining us. Eva, yeah, it's so good. Where did you buy that dress from? In the shop in China. So in China, in the shop, in the shopping mall, I bought these outfits. And feel free to say hello in the chat, just like Eva, and let us know where you are watching from. And if certain ideas resonate with you during the live stream, feel free to share your reflections as well. If you enjoy this kind of conversation, don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. You can also explore more of Xuemo's works through Amazon and the official website at shop.xuemo.com. So let's begin the live stream now. So I want to start a topic that I'm in the class listening to Xuemo's teaching this morning, and now after lunch, I want to share it with you. I can't buy it, right? Yeah. No, you cannot buy that. No, it's not from Amazon. It's from the shopping mall. Yeah. But you can find a similar one, I think. You can find a similar one. So the topic, this topic I'm going to share is becoming more and more important in modern life. Hi, Annie. Hello. Where are you from? I cannot recognize the flag. Sorry about that. So the topic is becoming more and more important in modern life. And why I want to share it is because it is also my most important thing at this period, especially in an age where people feel emotionally exhausted, mentally fragmented, and spiritually directionless. So the topic is devotion. Devotion. And not blind belief, not emotional fantasism, but a deep inner orientation of life itself. I think many modern people misunderstood devotion completely because the modern world teaches people to rely almost entirely on analysis, logic, personal preference, emotional reaction, and self-centered desire. So whenever people hear words like faith, devotion, surrender, or spiritual commitment, they immediately become cautious. But what this passage talks about is something much deeper. The first sentence says, devotion is the highest productive force of life and infinitely open in the power. So devotion is the highest productive force of life and infinitely open in the power. This sentence is extremely profound because what truly determines a human being is not only intelligence, not only talent, not only external opportunity, but whether a person has an inner direction greater than the ego itself. Estonia. Okay, welcome. And please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. Do I pronounce this word correctly? Estonia. So what truly determines a human being is whether a person has an inner direction greater than the ego itself. A person without a deeper direction becomes easily scattered. One day chasing money, and tomorrow chasing validation, the next day chasing emotion, then endlessly trapped inside fear, comparison, anxiety, loneliness, and internal conflict. But once a person establishes something higher than self, enormous energy begins gathering naturally. Because the mind is no longer fragmented, life begins moving in one direction. And perhaps this is why the next sentence says, it means rationality no longer serves the emotions and fragments of the small self. This is incredibly accurate about modern life. Many intelligent people today are not truly using intelligence for truth. Their intelligence merely helps justify emotional reactions and personal desire. When angry, intelligence becomes justification for anger. When jealous, intelligence helps explain jealousy. When attached, intelligence protects attachment. So intelligence alone does not necessarily bring wisdom. True transformation happens when life becomes aligned with something higher than emotional fluctuation. And there comes another important sentence. Great power comes from devotion. I think this explains why some people can endure unbelievable difficulty without collapsing internally. Because once a person has a deep direction, suffering no longer feels meaningless. It becomes part of a larger path. And that changes everything psychologically. A person without meaning becomes exhausted very quickly. So a person without meaning becomes exhausted very quickly. But a person connected to something higher and can endure far more than ordinary emotion alone could support. And the passage says, set down the small self and merge into a greater existence. Set down the small self and merge into a greater existence. This does not mean losing individuality mechanically. It means gradually moving beyond obsessive self-centeredness. Because modern people suffer deeply, partly because the mind is trapped in constant self-reference. My emotions, my wounds, my fear, my success, my image. The mind circles endlessly around itself until exhaustion appears. And when consciousness begins serving something larger, the structure changes. And there is another sentence I think is extremely important. All achievers are trained. This is very different from modern culture's obsession with talent and instant success. Real depth comes through training. Awareness is trained. Concentration is trained. Compassion is trained. Discipline is trained. Inner stability is trained. And perhaps most importantly, the ability to remain aligned with truth despite emotional fluctuation is trained over years. Then comes this sentence, I am willing to hand my life over to truth. So I am willing to hand my life over to truth. It sounds simple, but psychologically it is enormous, especially if you repeat it day by day. Most people still secretly place the ego above truth. If truth feels uncomfortable, they avoid it. If truth threatens attachment, they reject it. If truth damages self-image, they defend themselves immediately. So saying I hand my life over to truth means something radical. It means truth becomes more important than egoic comfort. And finally, one of the most important sentences here says, devotion is not escaping reality, nor pushing responsibility onto a sacred image. It is establishing the highest reference system for life. So devotion is not escaping reality, nor pushing responsibility onto a sacred image. It is establishing the highest reference system for life. This is crucial because real devotion is not passive weakness. It is not a dependency. It is not emotional blindness. It is establishing the highest orientation of life itself. So, establishing the highest orientation of life itself. Without a higher orientation, people become controlled by temporary emotion and social press. But once a person establishes a true inner reference point, life slowly gains stability, strength, endurance, and meaning. And maybe this is why modern people, despite having more technology, more convenience, and more stimulation than any generation before, still feel deeply empty inside. It's because convenience cannot replace meaning, pleasure cannot replace direction, and stimulation cannot replace inner wholeness. So perhaps the real question is not merely what we believe intellectually, but whether our life truly has a direction higher than fear, desire, vanity, and temporary emotion. So the real question is not merely what we believe intellectually, but whether our life truly has a direction higher than fear, desire, vanity, and temporary emotion. Hi, hello, I see someone here. And if you are new here, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. Let's look at it. More light. So this is what I just it is the fresh teaching from Mr. Xuemo in this morning's lesson, and I'm sharing it here because I also want to emphasize, to like a learning again. 继续翻译加扩展，然后再给我 A、B、C 选上。I forgot to bring the water. Okay, I will continue sharing what I just learned from the morning lesson of Mr. Xuemo. And Xuemo says, a finite life opens itself toward infinite value. I am willing to become its carrier. I am willing to no longer center everything around myself. This is actually an enormous shift in consciousness. Because most people live entirely within the boundary of personal life. My future, my emotions, my comfort, my success, my image. The center of life is always the small self. And when the self becomes the center of everything, suffering naturally multiplies. Because the ego is fragile by nature, it constantly fears loss, it fears rejection, it fears failure, it fears insignificance. So the mind becomes trapped in endless self-protection and emotional fluctuation. But this passage points toward another possibility, that a finite individual life can open itself towards something infinite, not by physically becoming infinite, but by aligning itself with something beyond personal self-interest. And Xuemo continues says, individual life is finite, but consciousness can move toward the infinite. I think this is one of the deepest ideas in my wisdom traditions. The body is limited, time is limited, human life itself is temporary, but consciousness has the ability to move beyond narrow self-centeredness. And maybe this is why many spiritual traditions speak about concepts like oneness, heaven and humanity united, and merging with truth. Not because the individual disappears mechanically, but because consciousness becomes less trapped inside the ego, less obsessed with self-protection, less fragmented, less fearful, and more open toward a larger existence. Then there is another sentence: devotion can generate inexhaustible power. I think this explains something many people cannot understand rationally. Why can some people endure extraordinary hardship for decades without collapsing internally? Why can some people dedicate their lives to something far greater than themselves? I want to repeat this question: that why some people endure extraordinary hardship for decades without collapsing internally? Because one's life is connected to a deeper value. Energy changes completely. Ordinary motivation is unstable. Emotion rises, falls, excitement fades, external rewards become insufficient. A value-based life is different. It creates endurance, direction, stability, and the ability to continue even through suffering. Hi, Rahul. Hello. Welcome. So devotion is not superstition. It is when consciousness opens and resonates with a system of vows. This is an extremely modern and psychologically sophisticated way of explaining devotion, because blind superstition is unconscious, fear-based, mechanical, but what this passage describes is something different. It describes a consciousness opening of life toward a greater direction. Hi, Rahul. So spiritual session. You can understand it. I feel you can feel something in my talking, but it is not from which book, but just from the fresh new lesson that Xuemo just gave us in the morning. So I'm sharing it here after lunch. You know, he's giving the charge, have the lesson this morning, and I'm sharing here at lunch. Because from May the 1st to May the maybe the 7th or 9th, it is China's national holiday. It's a national holiday, so we are having a holiday, and over around 200 students from all of the country come here